So, what turned this into this and made this? Well, I'm going to walk you through how this happened and how Barbie navigated a whole new era by focusing on one thing, and that thing was impact. I'm going to show you how they did this, and then I'm going to show you how you can do the same. Stay tuned. So, Barbie has had quite the evolution since she arrived on the scene in 1959. So, she started off as model Barbie, and no one had ever seen a doll like her before. Then she progressed into different careers. She was a CEO, a doctor, there was President Barbie, there was Malibu Barbie, and gradually new Barbie started to come on the scene and they explored different careers with her. And then we got to the 2000s and Barbie received criticism for not being diverse, for promoting unrealistic beauty standards. So the brand hit quite a good bit of criticism for this. So then it was time for things to change. And the brand started to embrace lots of different body figures, lots of different skin types, lots of different Barbie, and became more diverse. And then the brand realized that they needed to make another shift. They needed to address the concerns that were out there that Barbie was outdated, somewhat old fashioned, and hadn't really moved enough with the times and wasn't the leader that she once was. And this is where Barbie, the movie, comes in. And Barbie the movie blends perfectly the nostalgia around Barbie, and everyone remembers their first Barbie, so they tapped into that nostalgia and looking back and how Barbie had such a long history and being one of the longest dolls around. And then they blended it with modern feminism. They wanted Barbie to be seen as a symbol of empowerment and a symbol for leadership going forward. And Barbie the movie did this perfectly. And they did this by using this technique, which I call impact. They used their impact through storytelling and the publicity strategies that they used. So I'm going to walk you through exactly what that means now. If you are finding this information useful, and these are actual tips that you can apply to help grow your business, then you know what you need to do. You need to like this video and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any future content. But let's first take a look at what impact actually means and let's get a definition. Impact is when something has an effect on someone, something, or some issue. And this is what Barbie focused in on long before they launched the movie. And Barbie the movie wasn't just a movie, it was a whole event built around making maximum impact and using the powerful tools that they already had. So they used the nostalgia, Barbie's history, long history, and how she has impacted the world. That was their first. Then identity, Barbie's old identity, now her new identity, and what's that going to be like going into the future, and cultural relevance. Barbie was now going to be viewed as a figure of empowerment. And these three combined created what we call an impactful campaign that grossed over 2.9 billion in the box office. Businesses often struggle with knowing whether their story is newsworthy or not. And I'm often asked, well, what makes news the news? And if you can demonstrate how your story impacts something, and this can be, it can change a conversation about something, it can change a way of doing things, it puts pressure on an area, it puts pressure on a political group, for example. If it has the potential to change something and make an impact, then your story has what we call a news hook. And if your story has this news hook, you need to hone in on how it makes an impact and share your story with the world. Impact is one of the biggest factors that determines whether a story will make the news. And there are a number of ways that you can figure this out. And I'm going to go into a little bit more detail now. So, does your story have an impact on a large group of people? Is it more of a local story? Does it impact a local sector in your community? Does it impact something in your area or your niche? Does it impact someone's pocket financially, a group of people's pockets? Does it create any kind of emotional impact? Does it create fear? Does it create happiness? Have you had a breakthrough that's going to help other people? If you can discover this in your story, then this is what needs to be pulled out and made into the headline of your story and into the intro. Now, impact isn't going to get you all the way. You've got to figure out how to weave this into your story and how the impact that your story has is going to connect with the audience that you serve. And that's what we're going to do in the next part. So, the bigger the effect, the more newsworthy your piece is. So, news is all about how does it affect people and how deeply does it affect them. So, the bigger the effect, the bigger the news story is for journalists, and the more journalists will want to cover it. But news, yes, it is about what's happening now, but it's also about who it's happening to. So a small incident in your local community affects your local community, while, let's say, if a product had to be taken off the shelf by big brands, then that affects a wider number of people and has more of an impact on a numbers scale. Then if you look at things like a personal impact versus a global impact. So sometimes really deeply personal stories can have a huge impact and transcend many niches. On both angles, both the personal, deeply personal story and the global story, both can have impact, but in different ways. So the local impact could be something that impacts a local area. Let's say a new flooding law has come into place and it's going to really impact their lives and improve their lives. So you would get the number of people that are going to be impacted by that legislation. Then a global impact, let's say a product has to be taken off the shelf for whatever reason, then you would go down the route of, okay, how many people is this going to affect? So having the data and the numbers really helps when you go down the route of impact driven storytelling. So the wider the relevance, the more newsworthy your story is going to be. Now, and while it can affect people physically, it also can impact people emotionally. And sometimes, like I was saying earlier, a personal story can have massive effect to other people because they might have experienced the same thing and might have been too afraid to talk about it, or they might be going down that road themselves. So this has an impact in that regard in a more personal way. But the impact here is relevance. So how relevant is your story? How much of an impact can your story make if it's relevant to a lot of people? And also, emotional impact drives what we call lifestyle journalism. It drives people's emotional need to connect with stories. So, if it has emotional impact, it creates happiness, it has a breakthrough, it creates sadness, then that has an impact on a different kind of level, but also hugely newsworthy, and it affects people on an emotional level. And also impacting financially. Let's say if you have discovered a new tool that can save businesses thousands of pounds from doing an activity that they would normally do manually, then that's a massive financial impact. Also, let's say if there's a new tax law brought in that either increases people's take home pay or lowers it, then that's also an impact financially. And if you are a financial expert and you can hone in on how this tax impacts people and how many people are in this tax bracket and how many people will affect, then you've got the financial impact of that particular piece of legislation. So you find the impact that you want to make with your story. Then you've got to connect that impact with the audience, because having impact isn't enough. Yes, it is a massive advantage that you've got over the thousands of stories that journalists are getting in their impact, because you understand that having an impact is vital in order to stand out from the crowd. But you also need a strategy, and you need to be able to communicate it effectively in order to reach the maximum audience and in order to reach the right audience. And brands and businesses that know how to do impact driven storytelling master their message. So I'm not going to have time to go into the actual messaging, but because this video is about finding the impact first. But once you find the impact, then you need to be able to tell it in a way that is engaging. And this is really what Barbie did, because they shaped the narrative. And I want to quickly go back to Barbie, because I think this example really shows you how, if you have a business, a long standing business, and how you can use the same impact driven storytelling to bring your brand forward and to drive it into the future. You can use a mix of nostalgia, you can use a mix of identity and cultural relevance together in order to form your PR campaign and figure out where your business now impacts the most people, the most businesses. So you need to figure out where exactly your impact is right now. So Barbie obviously had a massive global impact. Their PR campaign was everywhere, from the pink painted mansions to the life-size Barbie boxes to the takeovers of the Airbnbs. It really, truly was everywhere. And I'm going to link another video into this video because it will show you how, when a PR and marketing campaign is done right, it goes in peaks and troughs. So this was a peak moment, and everybody put their shoulder to the wheel to get the maximum visibility all at once. This was not a drip feed, not initially. Initially, it was all shoulders to the wheel to get the maximum impact. And this created an emotional and cultural connection, both with people who could remember back from their first Barbie when they were growing up in the 60s and 70s, to those who are now parents, now buying a Barbie for their child. And their strategy wasn't just about the movie. It was about creating an experience for people. It was about bringing them on the journey. And this was a journey that people wanted to be a part of. So, what did Barbie actually do? And we're going to look at that just very quickly now. So the brand set out to bring Barbie back into the everyday conversation. And they wanted to do this by revving up the brand's cultural relevance. And Warner Brothers partnered with over 100 brands, from Airbnb to Dreamhouse and Barbie themed Xbox consoles. So Barbie infiltrated everywhere. And now they did have $150 million to do this. However, you will find that sometimes a lot of these massive campaigns don't actually hit home correctly because they don't have a strategy. Whereas Barbie had a perfect strategy, and they decided that they were going to go down the route of impact, and they wanted to make sure that their impact was driven home, that Barbie was a cultural icon still relevant to this very day. So just to recap, if you can figure out how you can impact people, a place, an industry, a trend, a campaign, then your story has the ability to make the news. I hope this was really helpful. Please comment below with any questions that you have or anything that you would like me to do in any future videos. I'm open to suggestions. And please like and subscribe, because this really helps my channel to grow. And I would really like to share my insider tips and tricks with so many more people. I have 15 years experience in journalism, and I am super excited to share all my insider knowledge to help you get in front of journalists, build relationships with them, and start to build your authority online by shouting about your business in all the top publications. I really hope to see you in my next